What's up, y'all? So today I'm gonna be working out here in the backyard and I'm gonna be building some more of these raised garden beds that you see in behind me. Now we've had these two beds for quite a few years and we've grown a lot of plants out of them, but we want to build a much larger garden. And my wife has actually already started by building these two boxes over here. And so we just want to be able to make a much bigger garden. And so all this area that you see in behind me here, for the most part, we're going to be putting garden beds in. The food that you grow yourself is going to be so much better for you. It just has much more nutrients in it. I don't care if they say it's organic at the store. It's not as organic as growing it yourself. And the taste is way, way better than anything you'll buy in the store. And if you've never had garden grown vegetables or fruit, I would invite you to go down to your local farmer's market, try out what they've got there. I'm telling you, you'll probably end up building some of these raised garden beds yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we build ours. It's very cost effective, it's very easy, and it's very quick to do. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's go. Now for the materials I'm going to be using, for the most part, I'm going to be using cedar. And the reason for this is because cedar is really good at withstanding the elements, the sun, the rain, and for many, many years. That's why a lot of the times your privacy fences are actually made out of cedar. And that being said, that's exactly what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using cedar fence pickets. It looks great, and all of those reasons that I just listed is why I'm going to go with it. But on top of all of that, it is really inexpensive. You can pick up one of these 6-foot sections of cedar for around $3 or $3 and change. If you compare that to the price of some of the boards that people use to build these beds, this is a really inexpensive option. Now, a downside to this is if you turn it to the side, it's very thin. So it's not going to add a ton of structural integrity like, say, a 2x6 would. But it also doesn't flex a ton. So it's really just going to need some extra support in the middle just to hold it all in. It works really well. And in this case, I'm going to be using this cedar 2x4. All right, so now I need to make all of my cuts. And these beds are going to be 6 foot long by 3 feet wide. And these fence pickets sit right at 6 feet. So I'm not going to have to cut a lot of these, but for the width, I'll have to cut them in half to get those 3-foot lengths. Now you'll notice, since these are fence pickets, you will notice these dog ears up here at the top. If you just don't like them, you obviously can cut those off. I personally do not care that they're there. It really is not noticeable. And if you do cut it off, you do lose about 1 inch. That measures out to be 1 inch, so you will lose about 1 inch of bed space, which isn't a ton, so you're just gonna have to kind of weigh that out. Aesthetics versus, just having the extra bed space. But for us personally, we don't really care about that. So I've already got these cut down to the size that I'm going to need. Now all that's left for me to cut is my supports. And since my fence pickets are 5.5 inches wide, I'm going to have them stacked on top of each other at 3 of them. That comes out to 16.5 inches. I also want to add 6 inches on the supports so that they can be direct buried into the ground to add more of an anchoring or add support to those walls. So I'll just add 1/2 inch to that, and I'm going to cut each one of these supports at 23 inches. All right, so I've got 6 3-foot lengths here. I've got 6 full 6-footers right here, and I've got 6 posts here. 1 will go in each corner, and then 1 in the middle of each of the 6-foot runs. So I started out by just lining up each of the edges, the bottom edge with the bottom edge of the post, and then the side edge with the side edge of the post. Once those two were lined up, then I just started inserting my screws. And as I was working my way up, I wanted to make sure that each one of these edges lined up with the edge of the post the whole way up. This way everything remains nice and square. So you've kind of got a gist of how I'm going to be doing this the rest of the way around. I'm going to keep repeating the steps that I did here. I'm just going to keep stacking each of the boards on top of each other on the remaining sides, making sure that each of the edges do line up with the edge of the supports. And then on these long sides, I want the edge of my long boards to line up with the corner of the short boards, or the ones that are the width of our box. All right, so now that I've got all the corners in place, now all that's really left is to add my middle supports. So all I had to do is find the center of this to tie all these pieces of wood together using this support. So I'll put one here and I'll put one over there, and that's going to tie all of these pieces of wood together and give it some extra support. All right, so now that I've got my raised bed exactly where I want it to be, I've got the posts sitting exactly where I want them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig holes at each one of my 6 legs here, at least 6 inches deep, to get those posts down into the ground, and then I'll backfill it in. And this is going to put the box then down on the ground, and it's also going to give these walls the structural strength that they're going to need to hold up to the dirt being inside of the box. All right, so now that I know that my holes are at least 6 inches deep, I can now place the legs down into the holes. Now that I've got the legs in place and I've got it sitting how I want it, I'm going to backfill the holes. All right, so now that my holes are backfilled, the garden bed is in place. Now I'm going to start filling it, and I'm going to start out by putting in some large to smaller branches just to take up the bottom portion of the box, just give it a base layer. It's a more economical way of filling this box up instead of just going with all dirt. Over time, these branches are going to break down and just turn into dirt themselves. So now I've got a large base down of dead branches and sticks. Now I'm going to come in with another layer, but this is basically going to be yard waste. It's going to be a bunch of dead leaves, dead grass, more small sticks and twigs, and this is really going to decompose quickly and just turn to dirt, just like the base layer is, but this will just go a lot faster. And now I want to put down a nice layer of compost. And in this case, I'm going to be using some black cow, which is a composted cow manure. And I'm going to put down a nice layer of that. And then on top of that, I will put a very thick layer of topsoil. All right, so that was a lot of topsoil. I should have just rented a dump truck at that point. But I've got one more layer to put down. I'm going to put down some topsoil mixed with some of that black cow. That's really going to make a nice rich soil for those plants to grow in. All right, so that was the final layer, and all that's left now is to plant some seeds or bring out the starter plants that we've already started inside the house. Those will be going in here shortly. And as you saw, really easy to do, really wasn't too time consuming, and cost for a bed this size, it was pretty low. I want to say we were in at about 40 to 50 bucks, and that's not too bad for a bed that's this size. All right, y'all, so I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please let me know by giving the video a thumbs up, and let me know down in the comment section what you think about this, one way or the other. Maybe you do it a different way. I'd love to hear about it. And of course, if you have any questions, you can leave those down in the comments as well. And if you like videos like I did here today, I do a bunch of videos on new projects like this, and also doing a bunch of repairs around the house. If those interest you, then consider hitting that red subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. See ya.